Since my last, things have changed. I'm going to share another one of the messages I've received, but first I'm going to share a conversation I had with my dad. The first message I posted left me feeling a bit guilty that I hadn't talked to my parents in so long. What can I say? I have nothing all that exciting to share with them. I get up, work online, maybe go down the street for lunch or dinner, then spend the rest of my day walking on my treadmill while watching TV. Not exactly the glamorous life my parents had imagined for their only child. When I first called home, my mom answered. They're old-fashioned, they only have a landline, honestly unbelievable for this day and age. My mom was excited to chat, but of course she guilted me about never visiting. Unsurprisingly, she also asked why I didn't have a wife or kids at the ripe old age of 31. It was a taxing reminder of why I don't call home very often. Eventually, the phone was handed over to my dad. We had a less agitating conversation, chatting about sports and movies mainly. He made jokes about how he wished he lived a bachelor life like I am. Pretty sure he only said that to lessen the blow of my mother's incessant questioning. He felt obligated to comment on how much my mother missed me and how much she wished I'd visit. That's when the conversation changed. Dad, I began trepidatiously, you're on the police force. Have you ever seen anything strange around town? My dad sighed loudly. Town's got a drug problem. Meth mainly. You know that. I know, but I'm talking about strange as in supernatural strange. There was a short uncomfortable pause before my dad answered. Is this about the house in the woods? I choked on my words, surprised he'd been the one to bring it up. I told you when you were young to stay away from that place. I hadn't heard that tone in my dad's voice before. He was deeply serious. I heard they put a fence around it. It was the only response I could think to say. Where do you hear that? I gave him the name of the first messenger. I could hear him shifting around in his chair as if looking to see if my mom was around. My heart began to race as I heard him stand up and walk briskly towards the back door. The sound of the slider opening and closing was quickly followed by the distant chirping of crickets. Listen, son, my dad spoke in a hushed tone, his chiseled, masculine voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I love you. In all of my 31 years I had never heard my dad say I love you on his own accord. My mom always had to force it out of him. Criticize that all you want, but he'd always been a man of actions, not of words. I'd always known he loved me, but hearing him say it unprompted made me feel as if I was 12 again. I felt tears forming in my eyes. I couldn't even tell you why. The best thing you ever did was leave this town. Don't come back here. The words struck deep. We'll visit you in the city. Your mom, she doesn't know. She can't see this place for what it really is. I wouldn't want her to anyway. I'm sorry I couldn't shield you from it. I hoped I had, but apparently I failed. Dad, my voice was weak. I felt as if all the air had left my lungs. What were you trying to shield me from? This town. My dad's voice was distant. This place is where all things are forgotten. Left to rot. In the dark alone. A seismic chill shot up my spine. The face of the creature I'd seen as a teen appeared in my mind's eye. Those ancient eyes older than time itself. I thought of the naked mother covered in dirt, her gaze shining with strange empathy. How much did my dad know? Had he seen them? Did he know more than me? I didn't have time to ask as I heard my mother calling out in the distance. I'm still on the phone. My dad shouted back. I was just saying goodbye. Dad, I said frantically, desperate to learn more. I couldn't let the conversation end there. I had to learn what he knew. Son. My dad's voice was back to its authoritative tone. I'm glad you called. I love you. And son's silence hung in the air as I waited for his last words. We never had this conversation. Live your life and forget about this town. With that, my dad hung up the phone. I sat on my couch for what must have been an hour or more, unable to process the conversation. I've spent the last week or so debating what to do. If I were smart, I'd follow my dad's advice. Live my life and forget about my hometown. Forget about what I saw as a teenager. That's what I've tried to do since leaving home. But try as I might, I can't forget. Those ancient eyes haunt my dreams. They dig into me like flesh into glass. Curiosity gnaws at my insides like a parasite eating me alive. What is that thing living in the cellar of that old abandoned house? The face and the faceless one behind it, what are they? What does it all mean? What does my dad know? I don't think I can ask him. I'm not sure where to go from here. I think I'll start by researching a bit on my hometown. Maybe reach out to some old friends. I'm afraid I've opened a can of worms I cannot close. I'm scared. I've spent my whole life in fear of knowing. But I have to know. I'll share another message I've received on this app. In a way, it's nice to hear from other people who have shared my experience. Makes me feel less alone. Message 2: Hello my friend, I hope you're well. My family moved around a lot growing up and I spent about a year in your hometown of. I know the building you spoke of in your story. I'm of a melancholiac disposition, always have been. I spend a lot of time alone. I traversed those strange woods as a child all by my lonesome. They always felt foreboding and mysterious. The trees seemed to be warning you of an ever-present danger by the way they creaked and swayed even when the wind was mild. The first and only time I saw the house, I wasn't sure what I was looking at. The way the trees wrapped around the building made it seem as if the house itself had grown from the dirt. I came closer. That's when I saw the eye. I did my best to convince myself it was a trick of the light, a shadow spread across the glass. But as I approached, it became harder to deny. I snuck closer, 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 my curiosity and disbelief driving me on. I came mere inches from the window. The eye was deep and cavernous. It made me feel something I cannot properly describe. It was like looking into the depths of space or the furthest reaches of the ocean. Its brown complexion held something ancient and unknowable. The dark flesh around the eye moved. Unseen lips were mouthing something I couldn't make out. Transfixed, almost hypnotized, I tapped against the glass. It was a gentle tap, not even audible. The flesh around the lips contorted in what must have been anger. A sound rang out, low and ominous. Not very loud, but deeply imposing. Much like the eye, the sound is nearly impossible to describe. It was like two rocks sliding against each other while a symphony of discord plays quietly in the background. I left that place and never went back. My family moved shortly after that. I shudder as I think of it now. That eye still haunts my dreams. In a way, I'm glad you posted your story. I thought maybe I'd made the whole thing up. Apparently not. Best of wishes, and my personal advice, stay far away from that place. I had a troubled childhood with many traumatic experiences. But that one memory, that eye staring back at me and that haunting sound, stands above all the others.